Somebody needs to pinch me because it feels like I'm dreaming. Another major prospect call up in Chandler Simpson. We got names like Jordan Lawler. We got Sean Manaea on the mend. Those names and more are mustache on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ahne. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify, that allows 5-star ratings and reviews. We would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us as well. And lastly, if you want a little bit more than we offer here in these 30-minute episodes, join us on the Insider Track, where you're going to get exclusive access to major prospect call-ups and much more than, like I said, than we offer in these 30-minute episodes. And all right, guys, let's get into it. I said this to Matt before we started. It feels like, honestly, in the last month, we've got about 20 major prospect call-ups, and today is no exception. Matt, why don't you talk about him? Chandler Simpson, he is back for those Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, this year is just making me want to sing. It's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas because it's just a gift, and it's a gift that keeps on giving. But yes, Chandler Simpson at Tampa Bay Rays playing the outfield for him. And quite honestly, very surprised that he even was sent down. You know, he was on a tear. He was batting, 261 before getting sent down, 285 on the season through 123 at bats, and already had 19 stolen bases. So he covers a lot of my favorite roles. If you're new to the show, welcome to your new role. And if you've been around for a while, you already know what I'm about to say. But batting average off the waiver wire is something that I truly strive to pick up. And Chandler Simpson is somebody that, is hitting for average and getting on base and taking advantage of those opportunities by creating stolen base opportunities, getting driven in with that team as well. So it's really good. I think he'll probably end up in either the leadoff spot or at the bottom of the lineup as well. He'll still be able to get driven in, just not as much on the upside part. But Chandler Simpson is definitely going to be an integral part of this team in the coming times. I need to add him immediately. 19% owned. You really just can't pass on him. Stolen base upside probably this year alone. Probably I wouldn't even put it past it at 40, and that coming off the waiver wire. Actually, that's probably underestimating him with 19 stolen bases, 123 at bats. So the sky's the limit for him, especially in them roto leagues. It's just going to be magical to win the category with a guy off waivers.
Yeah, Matt, well said. Chandler Simpson is a super cheat code when it comes to steals. They tested around with Simpson in the leadoff spot, got it a couple of times, hit ninth a bunch, hit sixth here and there, but like I said, still managed the 17 runs, 11 RBIs in 35 games isn't horrible. So, he's contributing, and the 19 steals are elite, the 285 batting average. He continued to hit for batting average in the minors, where he hit 333 over 33 games. Also with 19 steals, that's less games, more at-bats, though, oddly enough. 144 at-bats across those 33 games in the minors. Dude's probably hitting leadoff more down there. Simpson's just got a lot of upside, so go out there, add him at. Great take, 19% owned on Yahoo. Once again, that's Chandler Simpson, rookie call-up for the Tampa Bay Rays. He is back. Number 7 prospect overall for Tampa Bay, by the way, in case you were interested in that information. Let's move on to this next guy. Another guy, he's coming back from injury, coming back from something. That's Quinn Matthews, pitching prospect of those St. Louis Cardinals. Now, Quinn Matthews was a bit higher up on prospect boards before the injury and, had a little bit of a tough start to the season. I'll read you off the overall numbers. He has been better of late. The last 9 starts overall this season in the minors for Quinn Matthews, 3.19 ERA, 31 31 innings, 35 strikeouts. The whip is up there at a 1.55 due to the walks being 24 in 31 innings. Walks have never really been an issue for Matthews. We'll talk about what he did last year in the minors. 26 starts, a 2.76 ERA, 143 innings, 202 strikeouts, only 49 walks over those 143 innings. Batters hit 179 against him with an 0.98 whip. I think the injury was bothering him a little bit before he actually got put down on the IL. Quinn Matthews is a big guy, 6'5", 188 pounds. Has a good fastball, gets up there, around 96, 97, averages about 92. Secondary pitches, got a pretty strong slider, a nice changeup that mixes things up. And then every once in a while throws a curveball. It's not really a good curveball, something that he's working on developing. And listen, the Cardinals could use another pitcher in their rotation. Matthews has been up at AAA for 3 starts this year. His last few, as I mentioned, have been pretty good. Last time out, 5 innings, 2 walks, 1 hit, 6 strikeouts. Was pretty good in that one. So I think as long as Matthews, keeps building back up from the injury, getting better and better, we'll probably see him, I want to say, after the All-Star break. Sometime is my projection for Quinn Matthews, as long as he can keep it rocking and rolling, keep building up the pitch count, giving some length. So definitely a name to look out for. Like I said, I want to say late July, early August, the name that we could see in that St. Louis Cardinals rotation.
Yeah, I like Quinn Matthews. I think you're a little too, what's the word I'm looking for, aggressive when I think he's going to be getting called up due to the injury. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, a September call up, or a late August, like that last week of August call up, where he's still like in that kind of range, because I think they're going to want to build him back and kind of bring him back slow. Because one, it's just based off of, want to preserve a young arm and not let him see a lot of innings, I guess, in those regards. But also, two, control at this point. Like, hey, what's another month at this point? We're nearly in July. We're nearly at trade deadline. And a lot of things can change by then. So I think Quinn Matthews is going to be down for a little bit longer, but definitely a guy that you want to keep your eye on. I'm putting him on the watch list. I'm not really putting him on my roster at this point, but a guy that you need to keep an eye on. So let's move on, though. Let's talk about Jordan Lawler. Plays shortstop for, the minor league team, but is on the prospect of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, his minor league season numbers are much better than what he's done since he's been sent down this year. So on the season in the minors, he's batting about 215. He's got 49 runs, 19 doubles, 4 triples, 10 bombs, 45 ribs, 30 walks to 60 strikeouts, 18 stolen bases, batting 321. That's all fine and dandy. And it's really just the last 15 games are kind of ugly. He hasn't really recorded a hit. He's literally batting 0, an OBP of 136. He's walked 3 times but struck out 9. It hasn't been great, but he's a name that if he bounces back again, which is just somebody that you need to talk about, could inspire some greatness if things can click for him. He was hot when he got the call up, wasn't able to do anything, but the kid's only still 22, so I think there's still some we call it, some of the story that I think is just maybe isn't coming to fruition yet, but still has that a possibility. I don't have high hopes for Jordan Lawler in terms of his outcomes for, this season, but if for some reason he can will himself back onto the Arizona Diamondbacks lineup, it means that he really did push it, and then there'll be some upside. So it's a name you want to throw on the watch list, you want to pay attention to, because if he does get hot, might be worth that ad.
Yeah, Matt, good take here on Jordan Lawler. He's unfortunately starting to give me Joe Adell and Jared Kelenic vibes of that. It's like, hey, listen, I could be the best player in AAA, but I could also be one of the worst players in the MLB. Hope that doesn't happen here with Lawler. The lineup over there, listen, they got Pavin Smith DHing, and that, isn't always the best choice. There could be a path there, but as Matt said, Lawler just needs to start doing his thing out there, producing. On the season, the minor league numbers look great, as Matt mentioned, 10 homers, 19 steals, and a 321 batting average. That's across 52 games and 215 at-bats, all in AAA. So we love to see that. But listen, sometimes those AAA superstars just wind up being, quad A guys. So Jordan Lawler, keep your eyes on him. If he gets hot, gets the call back up. Not adding him everywhere, but definitely someone to keep on watch list. Just keep the name in the back of your head in case he does start performing. Because listen, the guy does have some upside. But before we move on and touch on these last two prospects, and then we got names like Sean Manaea and a guy we haven't talked about in a long time, Luis Heel. Those names and more coming up next. And all right, guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, maybe even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugate Ready. Rugate Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugate's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugate might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. I love that it's completely online. Rugate connects you with a board certified doctor and ships your treatment directly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rugate.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code LockedOnMLB to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB and use the promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit Rugate website for full safety information. And all right, guys, before we get back into this, if you want a little bit extra than we offer here in these 30-minute episodes and something that's just going to put you over the top in your fantasy league, give Matt and I on the Insider's Track. Through the Insider's Track, you're going to get exclusive access to Matt and I. Ask us all those burning fantasy questions you got on the mind. You're going to get those instant prospect call-up notifications like we did with Chase Burns and many more this season. And it's just a really good time to get in there. It's going to give you, like I said, put you over the edge, especially this time of year where you need that help in your fantasy league. Matt and I got you covered. Link is in the bio wherever you're listening, watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. And all right, Matt, let's jump back in here. Where do we leave off? All right, Matt, any chance you got this next guy ready for us?
I do, actually. So let's get into it. JJ Wentworth, Weatherholt. I apologize. I'm thinking JJ Wentworth. I need my money now.
You totally just went JG Wentworth on us.
Yeah. JJ Weatherholt of the St. Louis Cardinals, plays second, short, and third base. And, is an interesting prospect. I was actually reading up on him while you were doing the great ad. But he's having a good season, right? 228 plate appearances, 184 at bats, 33 runs, 13 doubles, a triple, 4 bombs, 24 ribs, 12 stolen bases, batting 321 on the season. So here's the thing with him. This is first year really in the minors and things like that. So you don't have really too many eyes on him in terms of, what could he do in the minors? But you look at what he's done in college, and it looks like he has a decent amount of power, had 16 home runs to 225 at bats, batted 449 when it was last year with West Virginia and things like that, which looks good. Good stuff. But I mean, you look at just like his underlying stuff too, like what they're grading on him in terms of Fangraphs, things like this. 35 hit tool, 35 game power, 50 raw power, 50 speed, and apparently has a great glove. So it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to probably find himself sitting in shortstop, and that's going to be pretty much his gold standard position because he has a great glove, and that's really what he's known for and things like that. But I don't know what to expect from him yet. He might get the call in September if he can really thrust his way in at the 4 home runs this season with the 12 stolen bases, batting 321. I don't think moves the needle at this moment. I think we're going to need to see a massive momentum change for him to get up, but he's a name that I'm interested in to keep kind of like an eye on because, with a guy that has a good glove and that has the speed that he has and possible power, they might be in a rush to get him up as well because Cardinals need to see what they have as a team because it's not like they're in a great position to say, hey, we're gonna win anything. It's more like, okay, what do we got in our young guys here to kind of get up? So with Weatherholt, I kind of am just keeping him on the watch list He's not going to be an instant head either when he gets the call, but if I'm in a position where I might be able to take a shot on upside, then Weatherholt is an ed for me. Otherwise, in those shower leagues, I'm really not even going to pay mind to him.
Yeah, man, with Weatherholt here, and kind of almost the same thing with Quinn Matthews. It really just depends on what the Cardinals want to do. They're in striking distance right now. They're 42-36 on the year. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They're only 4.5 out in the Central. I know the Cubs have been great. The Brewers have been pretty good. There's a wild card spot in play for them. And like you said, they might want to get these kids up there and kind of just see what they can do. I know the rotation needs some work with, Fetty and Palente at the bottom, even Miles Michaelis, who's always been mediocre. Maybe they want to go out there and get themselves another starting pitcher, make a trade here, shake things up. Some of these young prospects, listen, haven't been, look at Lars Nootbaar, who's been kind of up and down. Arenado can go down any minute, almost 35 years old. And just the rest of the team there, they got some good, solid young bats, but I could see Weatherholt getting up there at some point, maybe. Is only 22. We talked about the repertoire there. It's got some power, it's got some speed, good numbers in Double-A this year as a 22-year-old. You love to see that. Knows how to take a walk, 38 walks to 30 strikeouts on the year for Weatherholt. So there's a way, there's a will. Let's see what I really just think it comes down to what the Cardinals want to do here. If they want to, wait a little bit after the Super 2, get these kids up, keep the control, I could see it. But then again, if they fall out of contention, it might just be, hey, let's wait till 2026. But JJ Weatherholt has, a lot of good tools. He's the number 18 prospect according to MLB.com. So definitely somebody to keep an eye on moving forward. Let's move on to this last prospect here. We'll try and keep it quick and we'll get into some injured players. It's Jefferson Quero, catcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. And he is actually the number 38 prospect in all of baseball. 5'11", 203. He's got that, catcher build to him. The thing is, he's got a really good glove, knows how to call a good game. He's got a little bit of pop in the bat. I don't think he's going to be somebody who's going to be overwhelming in any specific category. Has a good hit tool, 337 in the minors this year across 24 games. That's 83 at-bats with 17 runs, 5 bombs, 21 RBIs. Doesn't really steal bags, can steal a bag here or there. Also has a great eye with 15 walks to 11 strikeouts. Obviously, they got William Contreras over there. He's been struggling, though. I don't think there's any world where they bring Quero up and they sit Contreras down. But listen, Milwaukee, another team, fighting over there, could be in, in contention to make a trade. Maybe Quero goes to a team that needs a catcher, right? So at least you've heard the name if he's involved in a trade. Catching's been really tough this year. So Jefferson Quero, catching prospect, like I said, he's number 38 prospect in all of baseball. Remember the name just in case he gets traded, because like I said, I don't think his home winds up being here in Milwaukee. I think they make a big trade and Quero will be on the move.
Yeah, I mean there's legit no spot for him in this lineup right now. So, Dom, it's a great point to see if he does get moved. I still think he doesn't see a lick of the season this year, but it is an name you just want to pay attention to because you know what? Even if they say, okay, cool, we're going to move him to a different position like first base, which a lot of catchers do tend to translate to, it would be with a different team. It's not going to be with the Brewers, being that they got Hoskins there. But the trade might open that up. They might put him in a few games at first base, and he comes up in September, and it could be interesting. He has a very volatile floor. I could totally see where he ends up being like Francisco Alvarez, where you never really see the full potential, or he just completely goes off because he has the same kind of tool. Great power in those regards. He has a 45 out of 55 game power and a 50 out of 55 raw power, which is 50 out of 60 raw power. So it's pretty interesting to see, and he actually does have some wheels in terms of his grade. So I like Quero for that, but hey, we'll see. Slim to none chance that he gets the call, though. Guys, before we move on, we kind of hustle through the end of this. There are some great names that you probably want to stash. You're going to want to find out that right after this. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Literally today. Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you could just stop managing money and start building wealth. When I first started using, Monarch Money, I realized just how much money I spent on food delivery. Now I just know what I do wrong. I still do it though, unfortunately, but at least I know, hey, you ordered a boatload of pizza on Friday night. With the part I like the most is though it's the managing money with my wife, right? It makes it a little smoother. You can share your personal accounts and set goals and stay on the same page without stressing out. And you can kind of say, hey, look at Monarch Money before you order that thing off of Amazon because you spent a lot on Amazon this month. So it makes her realize what she's doing. This is just my personal experience. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use the code locked on MLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and use the code locked on MLB for half off your first year. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Sean Manaea, those New York Mets starting pitcher. Now, Manaea had an incredible season last year. Came out of absolutely nowhere and was an amazing waiver wire ad. 181 innings pitched, 184 strikeouts, a 3.47 ERA, and a 108 WHIP. I'm super excited to see him come back. It's just a matter of when. When Manaea comes back, he is a 100% full blown ad for me. It's not even a question because I just want to see if he still got it. Now, my expectations are going to be on the lower end side. You know, a late breakout. The dude is 33 years old, and honestly, you look at what he's done in his career, and he really hasn't had a year like that in a very, 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 very long time. Since 2018 was his last really good year like this, and he's only had 3 years in total with the season with these kind of numbers. So it's a stretch that it's actually repeatable. But him dealing with the oblique injury and things like that, it's also going to take some time for him to just, bounce back and get his stuff because you know what? He really didn't have a spring training. He hasn't really pitched all year. So I think it's going to be a slow start. But I will give him a little bit of a longer leash and I will hold on to him for at least a good amount of time to see if we could get even like 75% of what we saw last year. I'm interested in the upside. I'm interested in what Manaea could possibly do for my team if he does manage to bounce back. So Manaea is a 100% add and stash pretty much right now because it's worth the shot.
Yeah, man, I'll jump in on here on Manaea. 40% owned on Yahoo. Was really good in his last rehab start. He struck out 7 over 5.1 innings, 1 earned run, 2 hits, no walks. You love to see that from a guy coming back from injury. Usually control is one of the last things that comes back. And Matt, you talked about how good he was last year. The Mets helped to make some changes. He was leading with the fastball and, it looked a lot better. In 2023, Manaea's fastball got hit at a 300 clip. He threw it 13.9% of the time. In 2024, you think, hey, that's a bad pitch, throw it less. He threw it more in 2024. He got up to 31.1% of the time with the four-seamer. But guess what? Batters hit 163 against it. The Mets helped him out there moving around these pitches, help him shape that fastball a little bit better. I don't think he's going to match the numbers he did last year, but can he give you a 370 ERA with over a K per 9 and a 115 to 120 whip? Yeah. And to get that off the waiver wire to pitch for a good team like the Mets, where he's going to win some games too, he's going to contribute in a lot of categories. I think Manaea is a great pitcher to grab off of the waiver wire right now that you could stash for free 99. Let's move on to this next guy, though. A little bit of a different situation here, right? He's not an IL guy, but he's a stash. Jerrickson Profar of the Atlanta Braves. Got suspended, PEDs, 80 games. He is due back on the 2nd of July. Profar had a breakout year last year, a little bit older, and, maybe those PEDs had something to do with it. But one thing I will say, I was reading something a while ago that was talking about, PED use in baseball players and how it affects them later on. They usually don't lose a lot of the games. You look at guys like Starling Marte, Ryan Braun, other dudes that wound up getting popped and still played pretty well afterwards. I don't think he's going to be the same guy he was last year by no means. I don't think he's going to hit 280 with 24 home runs and the great counting stats. But listen, is he a guy who can go out there, potentially lead off for the Braves like he did? Well, maybe not. Acuña's there. So maybe he hits 9th. Maybe Profar goes to 9th, right? And it's that second leadoff spot, which is nice. So can get a lot of runs, hit for a decent average, steal a bag here or there, hit for some pop. Don't really see a lot of RBIs, even though this Braves lineup is pretty good. I'd go out there and stash Profar where I need an outfielder, right? Let's check the ownership percentage real quick. He is up to 29% owned. Might be a couple of 5 outfielder leagues, might be an NL only where he's out there. A deep 12, 15s. That's where I'm looking for Profar. Anything shallower than that, probably not stashing, but throwing him on the watch list and seeing how he does, when he comes back.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, he's due back on July 2nd, which is interesting. I like what you said about, PEDs not, losing too many of those games. It's funny though. I actually joked about him taking PEDs before the season even started because I wasn't really buying the
I
performance.
have to give Matt. I have to give you credit, bro. You did say that. This is guys. Someone go find that clip because Matt did say that. Oddly enough.
Yeah, it was all in good fun and joke, but it was really funny when I was right. But I didn't mean it at all. But anyway, I want to add him just speculative, and I'm actually reading that they're actually talking about slotting him in at batting second in the lineup, which actually gives some serious value. You move back Matt Olson to the 3 hole, Riley in the 4 hole, you got Ozuna in the 5 hole, and that's really becomes value for that because you know what, Acuna's always on base, and that's a ribby right there, and then being able to be driven in, and if Profar doesn't lose that power aspect that we saw from last year, just makes him that much more valuable. So I kind of want to add him, being that I only have to keep him on my bench as a kind of like a dead roster spot for a week. So I'm doing it today, honestly. So add him now, in all honesty, and just do it quick because I don't think he's going to be out there much longer, especially since he was getting drafted pretty high before going down, getting popped for obviously doing illegal things. But let's move on. Let's talk about Spencer Arrighetti of the Houston Astros, starting pitcher. The Yeti himself. I like him a lot. Dom and I kind of drafted him everywhere until the injury kind of popped up, and unfortunately, after him dealing with the thumb injury, he's been out for way longer than we expected. But it looks like he'll be probably back after the All-Star break, which is exciting. He's looking like he's going through rotations just fine. Going to need multiple bullpen sessions and incorporate some pitches and face live hitters, and then eventually get some rehab starts. So I would say the middle of July is probably the window of where he'll probably be back. He is somebody that performed at a seriously high level and somebody that after a whole bunch of research in the off season, I've grown to really like. Um, you know, 2024 was something worth, really highlighting and saying, hey, this dude really has something through 145 innings, 171 strikeouts. Even though the ERA was super inflated, the end of the season really showed a story of a guy that was really taking his next steps. So Arrighetti is somebody that you really do need to add and stash now because guys are coming back off the IL and it's definitely freeing up some spots. He's a guy that needs to be stashed in every league.
Matt, great take on the Yeti. Honestly, I'm not even going to add anything else besides he's 30% owned on Yahoo. Go snag him. Let's move on to this next guy. Kind of a similar situation, projected to be back around August. It's Luis Gil. Finally throwing bullpen sessions. He's going to have the same thing. Going to have to work in all of his pitches, probably a couple rehab starts. But another guy who had a breakout year last year, 29 starts for Luis Gil last year, a 3.50 ERA, 151 innings, 171 strikeouts. The walks were a problem with 77, but listen, the whip was only a 119. I know he struggled to the finish line, but it was the first time he even had touched that many innings for a guy who didn't pitch in 2023. He had a monster 2024 in the bigs for the Yanks. So listen, I think he can be impactful. I want to see how his rehab assignment goes and all of that. We're still a little bit away. Like I said, we probably got till mid-August until Gil's back. 29% owned on Yahoo. Matt, you mentioned about guys coming back and IL spots potentially opening up. If you got one and you want a young pitcher with upside, Luis Gil is one of those names.
Completely agree. And for time purposes, I won't comment, but pretty much took everything I would say anyway. So let's move on. Let's get this last guy in. Shane McClanahan of the Tampa Bay Rays, starting pitcher, 65% owned, a little bit over the threshold that we normally talk about, but he's slowly getting dropped in more and more leagues, which is interesting. And if you say, but I kind of understand, guys, we kind of drafted him, pretty widely, and unfortunately that injury happened. Now, what this does is he's probably not going to be back till the middle of August, if I had to take a guess. Good news in regards to the nerve damage and things like that in his tricep. So it looks like he's going to be throwing off the mound soon, and then I guarantee he's going to at least get 5 or 6, rehab starts once he starts doing, facing live hitters. So middle of August is really just where it is. So you got to know at least at minimum 7 weeks before we actually see him back. But I'm going to be adding him because I guarantee he's going to pop up on your waivers very soon. And this is not a team that for a team that doesn't have any IL spots available. This is for a team in first, second, or third that can deal with maybe stashing him, or it's going to be worth it because he could be a difference maker. He was hitting his 98 miles an hour spring training. He was looking like the old Shane O'Mac, and I just want to see if things come to fruition. If he does, he's going to be a game changer come playoffs and almost a league winner, especially in them points leagues. Where pitching is more leaned on heavily. So Shane McClanahan is a guy you need to add immediately if he does pop up on your waivers.
I'll just say this too before we head out. I think Shane McClanahan's a great dynasty target right now. If you play in a dynasty league where you get to keep your whole team and you can go out there and get him pretty cheap. Hopefully the owner's just been fed up. He hasn't pitched in a while, so go out there and snag him in a trade in your dynasty leagues. But guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review, and shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after you make us your first listen, go check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB and make him your second listen each and every day. Does a great job in covering the league in a different way we do. We put our fantasy spin on it. He just does this regular baseball thing over there. So go check out Sully at Locked On MLB. But guys, until next time, see you.
Peace.